Hello, welcome everyone. We're so happy that you joined us today for a live Kabbalah Q&A with Senior Instructor Tony Kosinec. We'd love to hear where you're viewing from today. So if you can drop your city and country or city and state in the chat, I'll read those a little bit later. Also, regarding the chat, if you could keep the chat free of sidebar conversations and just post your questions there, it's a lot easier for our tech team to gather those questions, and it helps everyone to stay focused on what we're here for today. Tony has several decades of teaching Kabbalah and has studied much longer than that. So Tony, I'm always so happy to be here with you. It's always a joy.
Thank you. And by the way, that's Mary. And Mary is an editor of Kabbalistic books, and she's also an author and an educator. And we have a whole team behind this presentation. It takes all these people and the connection between them to make this happen. Joseph, Vesna, two Lindas. It takes two Lindas, Tamar, Rachel, Dima, and Yelena, who make sure that we're online. So the people who are watching this, who are curious about Kabbalah, aside from the students of Kabbalah Revealed, who may be watching this online, as well as probably coming to the private Zoom connection that we have after this. The people who come to find out about Kabbalah do it, well, we think for various reasons. Maybe we're interested in mysticism. Maybe we've been on other spiritual disciplines. Maybe we are curious about the science behind Kabbalah. But the real reason, whether it is evident to us or not, is that we are looking for the purpose behind life, the purpose behind creation. And in fact, that is what Kabbalah deals with. It deals with meaning, life's meaning, its structure, and how what we call creation works. What are the laws of this situation, reality that we find ourselves in? And in Kabbalah, it's not like the laws are abstracted from us like they are in the physical, where there's the person and then there's the forces of nature. But the real laws of nature, the forces of nature, run through the human heart. And in order to be able to find and feel and live the purpose behind creation, the meaning and direction of our lives, we have to stop taking for granted the structure of reality that we actually have. We have to be able to perceive what it is, because all of what we seem to understand about life and how we're made, that we have seem to have an inner world within us, our thoughts and our sort of private take and points of view on things. And then we have seemingly external things and other people and all that. We have to understand why it appears that way. And the purpose of that appearance, how to use it, because none of it, according to the science, the wisdom of Kabbalah, is random in any way. All of that all of those things are tools to let us understand and give value to something that we don't value at all. And when we learn how to feel those things in their proper place, this is called the study of Kabbalah. It's a science because it deals with things as they actually are, nature, and what motivates nature. it teaches us where these forces exist and how they move through us and why they move through us and what our role is with them. That they are intended to be felt in us as our feelings. But what do we do with those feelings? What do we do with the desires that we have? What do we do with the feeling that we have of separation and opposition? All of this teaches us how to perceive reality, not as we imagine it to be, according to the limited and undervalued sense that we have of things, but to see the greatness and the vastness and the eternity and the spirituality of the state that we live in. It changes our perception of reality. We become included in everything once we understand and feel. Understanding doesn't get us there, but feel what that purpose is, what the major force is, and how we learn to live that force in the way that it's intending us to do it. Because the intention of that force is in fact the purpose of our life. And Kabbalah teaches a person how to recognize and live in a higher reality. So whether we feel it consciously or not, when we become curious about Kabbalah, that's the reason that we do it, because we feel in the deepest part of us, because we are built to fulfill the purpose of creation. We feel and we hear something about it, and we want to know what it is and how to do it, because that's what we're here to do. So, if I haven't confused you totally, and I hope I have, so it'll create some questions, let's get to some. Mary?
Okay, great, Tony. The first question comes from Crystal James, watching on YouTube today. How do you know that you have really attained the spiritual realm and you're not dreaming or hallucinating?
Well, to begin with, let's do the first litmus test for the spiritual realm. It's not something that we do on our own. You know, it's not something that an individual achieves on their own in any way disconnected or separated from other people. Spirituality is not an individual pursuit. So it is the infusion and the living into the totality of all of life and the entire structure of nature. And that means that it's something that's achieved not in the person, but between people. And if it's something that happens between people, then all those people, let's say, also sense that. It becomes a shared reality that's also felt within the individual heart. So if that's the way that a person is working and wants to learn how to do it, then it's very evident when it happens. There's no question. But again, it's not just that a person climbs the mountain by themselves. It's that all of creation, all of reality ascends. And it's felt in you, and it's felt in every aspect of reality.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Next question comes from Growing Old with Purpose, also watching on YouTube.
Don't call me that.
Okay, I'll think of something else.
Mm-hmm.
How can I respond to people who think Kabbalah is a cult?
Let them think it. You're not going to convince people who feel that way about it. And Kabbalah is not about convincing people of anything. It's a way of fulfilling those people who already feel and understand and are walking in that direction in the first place. The only thing you can do is by example, by your care, by the way that you are with people, they will understand that it's not. And often people believe that the really, really deep commitment is like a cult, but it's impossible to do anything in spirituality without a very deep and complete commitment. So it's not the same as just one out of many things. It is the path to understanding the purpose of creation. So it's a little different than other pursuits. and people can feel that. Just be nice to everybody and be like everybody else.
Okay, next we have Abraham Alabachu watching on YouTube. In the Bible, we see mountains being mentioned quite a lot. What is a mountain and rising to a mountain according to Kabbalah?
Mountain, well, I'll give you a specific example. Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. Sinai means hate. The term means hate. In other words, it means separation. It's the opposite of the law of nature, which is the total, integral interconnection of everything with complete care for every part without a thought for yourself. So the quality, the lack of this quality in human relations, and the lack of the desire to even reach that, that's called hatred, separation. So it means the mountain, to ascend the mountain means to make the connection above the hatred. It means despite whatever the ego is telling us, that we still are concerned, connected, and working for the well-being. And the heights of spirituality come from that. Let me put it a different way, because spirituality really, messes people up, that word. The perception, the most inclusive perception of reality must be over that type of separation. So we think of it as pure at a great height. And what do we find at that great height? We find love that covers any difference. Mary?
Okay, Julie Dehan is asking, is there a difference between feelings and emotions?
Well, itchiness is not the same thing as love. Or maybe it is. That depends on a person's definition of those things. An emotion usually does have to do with the sensations that arise in relationship. You can think of it in relationship to people, but of course everything is really alive. We're dealing ultimately with a single force, which is the creator, because the only thing that exists is the creature and the creator. So emotions are a kind of a point of view that the heart has on the quality of that relatedness. Feeling, I don't know. Feeling is an unexamined emotion, I think.
Okay, next question, Tony. Luke England wants to know, is the physical observance of Shabbat Kabbalistic, or did it develop into a type of garment for the intentions?
Yes, it's a garment for the intention. When the inner correction was not possible over 2 millennia, that the state that we're in now, humanity, it is possible to do all of this inner work. We're very, very close to it. We're really entering a completely new phase of human awareness and connection. Based on this, the ability to make to reach these inner states. But while that wasn't possible for the creature in general, for humanity in general, doing it physically at least did not make us lose that connection to the actual principles of the wisdom, so that we would not forget that such states exist. It's true today as well. The goal for all of humanity is to reach these states. And I suppose the goal for a person who is religious is to not just do the physical, but to really understand that it's about states, and that this quality or this state of Shabbat can be reached at any time within the human heart. But it's represented a garment in this world in that way.
Okay, thank you, Tony. The next question comes from Lewis. I have read that when reading about Noah, I ought to look and feel as it is I. Quote, Noah was in his generation a man righteous and wholehearted. Noah walked with God. End quote. Could you comment on that, please?
Well, the first part of what you're saying is in a correct direction. Of course, everything that's written in the Kabbalistic texts, and the Bible is a Kabbalistic text, but it's written in a language that very, very difficult to penetrate, and you can't really. It's buried under stories, places, and times. It is like the physical Shabbat. It is addressing for the principles of the wisdom, but written in such a way that people who had far less ego to correct would be able to hear it and understand that it wasn't speaking about people and places, but it was speaking about states. So in that case, obviously, if it's teaching the wisdom, it wants the reader or the one hearing it to understand that it's addressing a single soul, which is the whole of humanity, and that's you. So we need to read those things as that it's addressing your development, you. But I would not count on understanding or learning any of the needed methodology through reading the Bible. In our time, it's necessary to work directly with the texts of the wisdom, because we're at a completely different state. We're at a state of maximum density of the force that's opposite to the spiritual state, and you can call these two things reception and bestow. The desire to, the will to give and the will to receive. These are two forces, the left and the right hand of the law of nature, that's used to guide us unconsciously through our development. And we're at a place now where it has to be conscious. So it's necessary to learn those things and not just be driven by this, like an animal trainer, by the upper force to the destination, but to learn directly. Open the Lion Tamer's manual, learn the wisdom of Kabbalah directly from the revealed sources that show a person how to work with the force of reception, how we turn that into bestowal and turn it into a completely different higher reality. That's what the methodology of Kabbalah does. But if you're trying to learn it, it's there in the Bible. But if you're trying to learn it from the Bible, you will remain confused. And if you learn it and learn the methodology, first of all, learn directly from actual sources that are the underpinning, that are there below the surface in the Bible. If you learn directly from those things and learn how to use that from somebody who has also received it from, in the lineage of teaching and so on, learned it from another spiritual scientist, then it will open up very, very quickly. So it's best to do that, to learn from the sources.
Okay, next up, Tony, we have a question from Vladu Christian Gavrilescu. Tony, if I am not an equivalence of form of the Creator, if I am not in spirituality, does he even know about my existence? And what about things that happen in our corporeal life?
Well, yes, of course. There actually is nothing else but the Creator. And we are known intimately. We are the children of this bestowing force. But the issue what we call life and death or knowledge has got to do not with do we just basically exist, but are we consciously participating? One does not have to reach the end result in order to be participating in consciously in the process of spiritual evolution that the law of nature is moving us with. As soon as we begin to learn and even want to know that, then you can say we're alive. It's we who don't know him. We don't know this force. We don't know the giving force. We have all kinds of imagination about it. To the degree that we want that, desire the creator or that bestowing force, that's him knowing us. Don't get confused by him and all that. There's just, it's also kind of an external clothing to be able to speak. He refers to the force of bestowal. She refers to the force of reception. And our problem is to unite these two in a correct way. But if we're thinking about developing, that means that the upper force is thinking about us and developing us.
Okay, Tony, here's another question about spirituality from a tarot reader. Kabbalists explain that we already exist in the spiritual world. Right now, by studying Kabbalah, Lolishma, we just fill our egos by getting answers to spiritual questions. So what's next?
Working with others, working on the connection with others. You're correct. It is not at all about any kind of knowledge or getting questions answered. It's just that's a kind of a transitional stage because we're so confused and we so belittle the aspects of reality that we need to understand and work in. We don't understand what they are. So we have to unlearn the way that we see things primarily through our ego and begin to redefine for ourselves our nature, and how opposite that nature really is to the desired goal. Now, the desired goal isn't reached by people explaining states to us or answering our questions. Once we go through the preliminary process of learning about the basic principles, in other words, redefining what the reality is that we're in, and understanding what forces are really at play and what things are actually nothing in this world. And it clarifies our desire. Okay, so once you've got that, then the methodology is all about how do you do that in reality with other people. The change in awareness, the real change in perception of reality comes between people. What we think of as eternal, what we think of as bliss, happens in the connection between people because spirituality doesn't exist in the individual. It exists in the connection of the system, the force that moves and connects the integral system of life, eternal life, the giving of life, the developing of life, the maintenance of life, the transformation of life is all about relationship. So the method of Kabbalah eventually, if a person really wants this, eventually teaches how to do that. And that's where all that happens.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Philip J. is looking for a practical example here. Could you please provide an example of an action from everyday life, which would be receiving in order to bestow upon the Creator?
Well, it's not about everyday life. This, you can only take these things into everyday life after one has reached that with others who are studying, if you want to do that. So, but you said receiving in order to bestow, in order to fulfill the Creator. I think everything that's occurring in our life, our own thoughts, the events that we encounter, the situations that we're in, absolutely everything, including our emotions, all of this is presented to us, comes from the Creator, and we are, in a sense, we observe it and we feel it as though it's coming from us. To engage in that and to be thankful for all those things that are happening, whether they're defined right now by us as good or bad, and to understand that this is a relationship with the Creator, and to take a different kind of pleasure in that, means that we are, in a sense, saying to this force, yes, we want to be involved with your purpose. We want to fulfill the purpose. We agree with the purpose. And the only reason that we're doing any of this is in order to fulfill your purpose. So an example in life is you go for a family meal, your mother makes something that she thinks you love, and you've never liked it. You've always gone, oh, do I have to eat that? But she put it in front of you. She hasn't seen you in like 3 weeks. She put it in front of you thinking, oh, my darling child always loved this, and I just want to see him enjoy it. You don't want it, but you eat it and you show your enjoyment because you know it makes your mom happy. But you don't let her see. No, but even with that, to attempt to enjoy it is an even higher state. But who are you receiving for yourself? No. You're receiving for your mother. And who's getting the pleasure out of it? Your mother. So put the Creator in your mother and keep you where you are, and you've got a sort of an example there.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Joe Gracia is asking about a specific example on how to view that as coming from above. Hello, Tony. I was injured in combat. I was in the military. How should I think of that as coming from above?
Well, there's nothing that doesn't come from above. That's what will be revealed to you as you begin to learn how this method. It's not that there is, people look at coincidences or they look at events in life and they say that event it was supposed to happen. I can see the hand of God there. That's the way that how concealment works, where we only see a tiny bit of something. Where the goal, what the intention behind creation is to allow us to see the purpose of absolutely everything, and that we agree with it, as I've said, and that everything that happens comes only from one source and only to develop us. We have to feel this. It's not enough to say that this is so. The upper force wants us to be able to feel absolutely everything that occurs in our situation, in the nature around us, and in society, in every event, as being absolutely good and for the purpose of our development. And usually, most of the time, the things that develop us are the things that are most hidden from us. They're the things that require the most change in the heart, the most unacceptable, that if we were to accept them, the kinds of changes that would happen inside of us would connect a vastly greater amount of acceptance over all of life within our heart than we have now. That's the purpose of these events. They're meant to evolve us. Nature works with two aspects. It beckons us with pleasure that we understand, and it also pushes us with pain that we don't understand, which is actually the higher level. So the methodology teaches a person to be very happy in life, to actually reach a kind of bliss in a way, but not in the ego, but the bliss of being able to see from the same point of view that the Creator sees in why he would give us these events. We understand that it's love, that it's development. We feel it that way. And I hope that very much for you. And you were given something that is, that if you work with it correctly, will bring you to a very, very high level.
Okay, thank you, Tony. We have another question, actually several questions from Tarot Reader. I'll read them all, then if you want me to go back, let me know. Why did the Creator make all of this? Does he need us? Why does he want us to become like him? Are 4 stages of desire like levels of the game? So we play this game until we grow up? In other words, become like him. So why did the Creator create all of this, Tony?
I'm just going to answer the first question because the answer to all of them is in that. The thought behind creation, the purpose of life, is to create a creature and completely fulfill it. That is, to do good, complete good, to give everything that there is to the creature. That the creature will have all that the Creator has. The Creator lacks nothing. The Creator is a force. It's not a person who decided to give. It's not like that. It's not an entity that decided to give. This is just the way that we can, in our very limited and in our concealment, how it's possible to even broach the idea of a completely bottomless, eternal good. And the good is provided, and the fulfillment is provided not just in a straight off good in which he says, here, take this medicine. It's adventure, love, engagement. Fulfillment has to have the struggle and so on. The pleasure comes from our attainment of that quality. It's not. I understand your question because the ego will see these things as separated. But nothing is truly separated. I was watching something about the new telescope that's out there that's like 100 times more powerful than the Hubble. And they were showing the differences between images they can get out of the Hubble and the images that this new thing can, because it's not looking at regular light. It's not looking at visual spectrum light. Let's call the visual spectrum light is like the ego, the perception of the operating system of the ego. Things are separated. I want to get something for myself. I want to achieve something here. One amongst many. That's the visible light range of the Hubble. But the new one, and I forgot the name of it, it's also named after a scientist, uses infrared spectrum. And it can flip between a couple of different bandwidths of it. So let's say that infrared, this invisible light to the human eye, is like the will to bestow. It's not like the ego, opposite of the ego. So they're showing these pictures and they're saying, this light is within 100, so far, and it's only been up for a short time, they're within what they call within 100 million light years, or something like that, from the beginning of the universe, from the edge of the universe. But they can see that. So in other words, they're looking, supposedly, if there's a big bang, they're looking back, they call it back, they're looking back, and they're almost at the so-called edge of the universe. But it's all there now. It's all there, but we don't appreciate the wholeness of it, that there isn't really time there. There is, how can we create a wavelength, an intention within us that spans everything, includes everything, and ends the separation, by which we would think, does he lack something? What does he want? Why create something separate? None of it is separate. It's only separated in our perception of reality. That's what we're here to unlearn. Mary?
Okay, well, we aren't blanketing the universe today, but I think we're blanketing the planet. I'd like to read some of the locations where viewers are tuning in from. We have Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sydney, Australia, Tennessee, North Carolina, the UK, California, Alberta, Canada, New Mexico, Nairobi, Kenya, Flevoland, Holland, Portland, Oregon, Salt Lake City, Utah, York, England, Caldas da Rainha, Portugal, Dunedin, Florida, New York, Arizona, DC, South Africa, New York City, Dubai, Serbia, Virginia, Bulgaria is just getting typed in, and that's who we have so far. Please continue to add your locations if you haven't already, and I'll get back to the list a little later.
Puerto Rico.
There's no Puerto Rico or Pluto today either, by the way. Finland just came in. Thank you. Okay, so on to the next question. This is from Kabbalahinfo. Please, what is the correct Kabbalistic view on priesthood and prophecy? For example, what if someone is saying that he is a high priest from the tribe of Aaron, etc.?
Well, I don't know. I try to figure out if. Okay, well, priesthood is a quality. The priests owned nothing and lived for the nation as a whole. This is a state. This is a state in Kabbalah where it's a kind of a ego annulment in which one reaches bestow and is thinking about the well-being of others before themselves. They love your friend as yourself and before yourself, more than yourself. And life is lived in a very kind of minimalistic way, not like not like living in a cave or anything, but necessities are taken care of. Everything else really belongs to the whole system in a person's heart. That's what a priest is. What was the other part of that question? I mean, the other part of the first part. What is a priest? And there was something else.
What if one is saying that he's a high priest of Aaron?
Yeah, but there were, before that, there were two parts to the first part.
Sure, yeah. Please, what is the correct Kabbalistic view on priesthood and prophecy?
Oh, prophecy. Well, a prophet is a Kabbalist. A prophet is somebody who develops to the point where their actions and the actions of the Creator are synchronous, synonymous, and there is also they're like they want whatever it is that they want it to benefit all of the people. It's not a priest. It's more along the lines of teaching or helping in society, but it's wisdom, basically. Oh yeah, and what to make of someone who says they're a high priest of Aaron? Grain of salt.
Okay, someone just gave me a head. That's a James Webb telescope. I saw that message. I went to high school with a James Webb. I have to see what he's been up to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did he have like really thick glasses?
He didn't. No. Maybe he does now. Okay, next question is from John Colvard. Big John, how you doing?
John.
Yeah, great friend of ours, dear friend, very dedicated. Hey, Tony, what does it mean to become like him, and what is him?
Well, he is the desire to bestow. Becoming like him is what you're doing. You are aiming your life and everything that you do at learning how to connect over differences and live your life basically for the well-being of the whole system. the hymn is the quality of bestowal.
Okay, next from Ivan Ivelu, and I'm sorry, I don't think I pronounced that correctly, viewing on Facebook. Even when we don't ask for ourselves, why don't we see the answers sometimes?
Well, because if we're working, it's teaching us that the outcome is not the important thing. The intention in the heart is the important thing. That's the reality. If one truly reaches a place where there is care and concern, and it's being aimed at another person's well-being, or the well-being of the whole, that's already the outcome. There's nothing more powerful than that. Ultimately, what we see in this world is the shells of our intentions. The material world is the sort of shell, the opposite, the skin, the flesh, in opposite of what our intentions are. So you don't need to see the outcome, because the outcome is in the initial thought. And our desire to see the outcome means that we didn't really give it away. We didn't really reach that place of not for me. Because if I need to see it, then I did it so that I can verify my giving and my involvement in all that. So it's a protective thing to not allow us to confuse the inner world of intention with the outer world of ego manifestation.
Okay, next question, Tony, is from Liza SM. Thank you, Tony. Regarding the creatures created by the Creator, and he does good to all its creatures, what happens when we see that our grandparents and parents leave with the point in the heart awakened?
I'm not quite understanding the second part of that question. Does it mean that you have a point in the heart and you see them and they die? Or does it mean that they have it and they leave this world, or your perception of them in this world? If they have it, great, well done. If you have it, you want to know what happens? We remain connected. Our grandparents and our parents are relationships. They're actually the emotions and the connection that exist in our heart. Our relational quality between us and that quality that is grandparents or parents. That doesn't go away with the appearance. You're thinking of them now, you feel them now. That was always the reality. And that's ultimately the reality. And that's where they are, as far as your involvement with them. So what happens? Almost nothing changes, except for them, perhaps. And I'm not on that side of the line, so I really don't know. But Kabbalists tell us that if you are working, and if you, whatever state you've reached, you will, if you've completed this incarnation, that is, if you've reached bestowal, then you don't need to return to the outer expression, the ego clothing. If not, you return, but you don't go back. You just go forward from where you developed, and all of that is actually not time, not really separated by death. It's like that, the telescope example. It really is. How inclusive is your heart? It's all in one. It's all one thing.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Rahul Bhatia wants to know, is Hindu/Vedic Dharma close to Kabbalah?
they're related. There's only one law of nature, and there's really only one way for that to develop in people. But there are different states. There are many clothings and many worlds on our perception, on our either the concealment or the revelation of that complete state. So, and they all came from the same source. And we say that Abraham, I'm not talking about a person, but that this wisdom, Abraham gave gifts to all his children, the children in the East, and it all comes from the same thing. But cultural forces and customs and so on turn them into different things according to the societies and the relationships, the nature of how people, the starting points of their perception. Kabbalah is the most inclusive. It doesn't, because there's no separation. You don't need to go away from anything. You don't abstract it. You don't meditate. It's the same thing. They're all part of the same thing, but they are more or less inclusive of the entire picture of what our nature really is, and the correction of the entire nature. By the way, all of that, I'm not trying to talk about the superiority of something. I'm just trying to point out that there is a law of nature. And if what we're trying to do is to learn that law of nature and not something else, then we will find the most complete grasp of all of human experience and all of human development in that governing law, rather than just in methodologies, various methodologies. But they're all related to the law of nature.
Okay, next up, we have another question from Joe Gracia about basic corporeal desires, Tony. I have a desire to improve my financial situation. Is that wrong? Can I change it?
No, it's not wrong. Don't worry about that. Anything that has to do with your survival and the basic needs that you have and just normal life is fine. It's just, it becomes a blindness if that's the most important thing. If that becomes even unconsciously the purpose of your life. Whatever you have is valuable because whatever you will attain, you will get, you earn or own, you can use it for the benefit of other people. But thou shalt have no other gods before me means that the finding of the purpose of life and the fulfilling of the purpose of life should be primary for a person. And when it is, then they will develop spiritually. But there's nothing wrong with what taking care of your needs.
Okay, joining us on Facebook is Alban Kabashi. What are your thoughts on free will, Tony?
Wish I had it. I don't really I don't give much thought to it. Everything that exists pre-exists my perception of it. So even my own desires, they're there and then I see them. It's not like I will create this desire. So how much free will do I have with that? I think that what Kabbalah explains to us is that the freedom is to agree or not agree, to become a channel for the single thrust behind reality, and willingly. That's called being a servant of the Creator. Is to turn my will, make it identical with the will of the Creator. And then there is complete free will. It's not whatever I want, no matter what, nature is saying. I have the freedom to do some other thing. No, we don't have that. But we can reach complete 100% free will by developing ourselves so that what we want is the same thing as the purpose behind creation.
Okay, next question from Nicolas Almeida Palacio. Hello, Tony. Can I obtain connection with the upper force and then lose it?
Hello. And well, no, you can forget it. You can kind of go to sleep or get amnesia, but you can't lose it because it's ultimately what you are. So you're not going to lose it. But you can distract yourself, or it may be necessary for you to be distracted and to develop your need for it, to develop it so that it's greater than the need that you have for whatever it was that made you forget about it and make you feel as though you'd lost it. You will not lose it, since ultimately it is the purpose of your existence and the only purpose that exists in reality. You will ultimately be fulfilled, but you won't be fulfilled if you're not engaged with it physically. I mean, even if not physically, intentionally. If you are engaged with it intentionally, you will feel fulfilled. If you're not, no matter what it is, you won't feel fulfilled. So there's only one place it can go, but the creative force only wants you to get to that place in complete good and fulfillment.
Okay, just sharing a few more locations. Thank you, everyone, for sending these in. We have friends viewing from Venezuela, Ohio, Lakewood, Washington, Melbourne, Jordan, the Philippines, France, Connecticut, Norway, and Pittsburgh, PA. So thank you again. And the next question is from Joe Gracia. I guess what I meant also was, can I influence my situation mentally?
No. You can influence your situation emotively. By functioning and trying to function with the intention to do good, to have a positive influence, that has the most powerful effect that there is. We can ruin things by detaching, so that affects our surroundings. It's what we intend is what we experience. We think it's, that it's something happening outside of us. We think that, I thought a certain thing and wanted a certain thing, and there it was. Actually, the upper reality wanted us to want that thing in order to encounter that situation, in order to build our desire to work in a different direction. We don't control any of this. We can align with the good, and we can align with the fulfillment of everything. And when we do that, it happens more quickly. Until then, the good that we seek is slow and it's painful. The more we align with the intention of the force behind nature, the quicker we see the fulfillment of everything and everybody. So the main thing we can do is to stop blocking that good by working on learning how to align with that ultimate intention to bestow. Not just to give, but to receive, because reception is our nature, but to receive in order to be able to give. And that's on the intentional level, not on the physical level. Once you have the intention, whatever physical thing you do will work out just perfectly.
Okay, next, the soulmate connection wants to know, who do you think the Messiah is? Do you believe he comes in the spiritual as well as the physical? Do you believe that we birth him?
The Messiah is all of us moving in the direction of bestowal and recognizing that we are a single creature and a single heart and a single soul. It is the shared awareness. It's not a person. It's a state of reunion of the shattered soul that was created at the beginning of creation. There's no person involved here. It's the antithesis of personhood. It is the integral love that is felt by all parts of the shattered soul. It's a completely new state for the world. And Messiah comes from the Hebrew word, is Mashiach, and it comes from limshoch, and Moshe comes from the same root. It means that we respond to the pulling force. The pulling force is this limshoch, Mashiach, that pulls and glues all of the parts of the shattered perception into a single whole whose heart is like the heart of the Creator. That's close to us, very, very close to us. We're on the precipice of this kind of experience, and that's why we're now experiencing it almost in its complete opposite. When we look at the world and the apparent conditions in the world, actually, they're very good. They are just before flipping into their opposite quality, and they're making us want the opposite quality with everything that we've got, and why we feel what's going on as though it were a life and death thing. It's life and life. Where we are now is death. Where we are going is life. And that's that sort of force that's working on us that makes us want the opposite of the kind of global experience that we're having now, and even our personal experiences. That's Mashiach. And that's something that we have in common with everybody.
Okay, thank you, Tony. The next question is from Giselle Leva. Is there an intrinsic difference between the spiritual work men and women have to do in order to reach a next level or a new level?
No, the work for men and women is internally is exactly the same. Because it's the same thing. You may approach it in different ways, just like we have, our bodies are constructed differently and so on. And that's all got to do with the distinction between two qualities that are the quality of the creator and the quality of the creature. The entire creature is female, right? Compared to this force, it's a force of reception. So this structure is like it follows down through every level in our reality, and there are some differences, but not on the spiritual level. The differences are there as we work ourselves out of the material egoistic level and enter the spiritual. The inner work is exactly the same for men and women.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Daniel Alfasi. Hi, Daniel. One of our beloved friends. He's asking, there's a lot of suffering, realizing that this might take who knows how many lifetimes. Is this what the ego keeps doing?
Yeah, just go like that. It's that thing about it's not possible is like, as far as the ego is concerned, it's not possible, because the ego is not going to change. It's not going to disappear. It's going to be put to a different use. That aspect of us can never see beyond itself. It's built as an operating system in order to manage, our basic existence, and no more than that. So it's always going to say, "No, I'm going to die." But it's not that it dies. It just does not become the force by which we develop now. It still has to be there. Otherwise, we don't have any perception. There has to be this contrast. There has to be something saying impossibility for us to be able to feel something that is completely sovereign. Impossible and completely possible, beyond limitation. That beyond limitation, that bottomless well of good and possibility can only be felt by us if we've got this other aspect of the ego saying, not possible, stops here. Then we understand what an eternal, immeasurable goodness is. Without that, we don't have any access to the eternal. And I think that's it. I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're right at the top of the hour. Thank you for the question. There were so many more fascinating questions, Tony, we didn't get to, so save them. Come back next time. So thank you for all of the great questions. So to join KabU, if you're not already a KabU member, then we invite you to join. You can see the links in the chats. You'll gain access to several Kabbalah courses from beginners to advanced. Be able to join the world's biggest online Kabbalah community. You'll be able to ask instructors questions in the student forums. You get access to KabU exclusive weekly webinar. And also you get access to the next Kabbalah Revealed course with Tony that starts on November 20th. Again, the next course with Tony's November 20th. You can also support KabU. You can become a member and have all of those exclusive access to all of those events, or you can make a donation. That's always greatly appreciated because we have many volunteers that are involved in broadcasting these live events. So that's always very much appreciated. All the links are in the chat. Thank you again. Very exciting KabU Q&A today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Mary, and thanks, team, for all of the great work. Questions were great. You made me go places I don't think I would have gone. So great. And I hope to see you again.